Hi, today we'll be talking about building habits. Habits can be very powerful for feeling accomplished on a day-to-day basis, for giving ourselves an anchor to come back to every single day of our lives, despite any uncertainties in daily life. They also allow us to build new skills because they involve a consistency, a repetition that is natural of building any skill. Especially at this time where many people's routines have changed immediately. A lot of people have been thrown off by the situation of coronavirus. So establishing new habits can be very helpful to overcome some of the hurdles that have suddenly arisen in our lives. I hope this video helps you. And let's begin by first saying what I think habit really is. For me, a habit involves a consistent and intentional practice. That is very important. A lot of things we might do in daily life might be intentional, but they're not consistent on a day-to-day basis. At the same time, some things you might do, like showering and getting very introspective and ruminating, might happen consistently, but they're not necessarily intentional. So that's not a habit. Habits are consistent and intentional. A lot of people might think that habits require extreme amounts of discipline. And of course, habits require discipline. But I see discipline itself as a habit. It's a skill practiced over time that you can get better at over time. So the same principles that we'll be describing for establishing habits will be the ones that you use for also establishing discipline. Discipline and habits go hand in hand. As you develop habits, you become more disciplined. And you'll see how. It's actually pretty simple and easy once you figure out how to do it. So let's go over the principles. The first one I've outlined is prioritizing. Prioritization can help very much when establishing habits. You want to order and write down especially, because that makes things more clear in your mind. What is the most important task you have to do? Or the most important activity you want to do? And then rank other things that you also planned. And focus on only the very first thing on the top of the list before you move on to the next and the next, checking the list. That might be simple to imagine doing, but there is so much temptation to just sometimes do everything at once. But you must focus first on what's most important. Now, scheduling. Scheduling and prioritizing, of course, go hand in hand. After all, your priorities might change throughout the day. At sleeping time, let's say 12 o'clock, your immediate priority might be to simply sleep and nothing else. But scheduling gives you an idea of how much time you'll have to accomplish things. It structures your routine in a more concrete way, and also takes out the burden of yourself to have to remember. The burden on yourself to have to remember every single task you plan to do. So your working memory is only focused on the task at hand and not on the very task you have to remember and you're afraid you're going to forget. So write things down. Maybe use a calendar app. That will make you more present and productive because you'll be focused on a task at hand and nothing else. At the same time, with scheduling, it's very important for you to schedule your leisure times. It's so important because distractions will come up throughout the day and you want to let go of them. That's what discipline is about. A letting go of the distractions to simply come back to the task of hand. If you don't plan your moments of pleasure and your moments of comfort and peace, interleaving with the tasks you plan to do and your work you must do throughout your day, it might be so tempting whenever a distraction shows up to just go for it and forget about doing what you hadn't planned to do. So, in establishing new habits, it's essential that you schedule and remember to add moments of break so that whenever you feel the temptation to simply go for some distraction and relax, you just tell yourself, I don't need that. I've already safeguarded the time in my schedule for taking that break. So you can come back to the practice that you have planned to do. Something else very important is beginning a task little by little. Developing a habit is an ongoing process that has to start somewhere, and it must start small. That's why, for you to be consistent, that's why doing things little by little is important for maintaining consistency. If you try to run a marathon, and that's your ultimate goal, first of all, you have to clarify to yourself why do you want to do that and make it clear that it will benefit you. But secondly, when you start it, you must first put your shoes on in the very first day and just run a block. See how you feel. The next day you might want to run 2 blocks and do it slowly, consistently. Otherwise, you will never run a marathon. Or you might do it like me. Once I ran 40 kilometers almost. And after that race, I was almost falling on the ground. I could barely walk because I didn't practice at all before. I had a lot of intention and a very strong motivation, but I didn't have consistency and I didn't build the skills necessary, the body strength necessary to do it and not feel completely destroyed afterwards. So, you must learn to do things consistently. All these lessons that I'm talking to you about are things that I've learned over time by being someone completely crazy about some things. Being very, very intense, but not being able to develop consistency. So begin little by little. That's very important. And maintain your consistency. It'll be easy after all, because doing little by little is much more sustainable over time. Now, very last thing, just as important as anything else, practice gratitude every single time you do what you plan to do. After you've done it, stop to think about it and thank yourself. Congratulate yourself. Treat yourself a little bit. That makes a big difference because that will be what makes you want to come back the next day and do it again. That is what ultimately creates your consistency. Being grateful is so important. It will make you return to the practice the next day. I think this was the most important principles I can remember at the moment to share with you. So remembering prioritization, scheduling and taking notes, make clear for yourself what you want to do, why you want to do, the benefits, and write it down. Beginning little by little, maintaining your consistency, and practicing gratitude every time you do it, so you'll come back the next day. Thank you for watching, and I hope this has helped you in this moment that is a little bit crazy for every one of us.